Welcome back to the Zaneta Show, the space where we are empowering women to stop waiting and start winning. I'm your host, Zaneta Power, and today's conversation is a soul-stirring reminder that growth does not always look like the hustle. Sometimes the most powerful transformation happens in stillness. Consuela Williams and I have been connected on Instagram since 2021, but this was our very first conversation in real life. And in this moment, it just flowed. Two women, both in the midst of becoming, holding space for truth, tenderness, and the lessons that only life can teach you when you actually slow down and listen. In this episode, we'll talk about navigating the transition, the kind that shake your identity, stretch your boundaries, and demand a deeper kind of self love. We'll talk about what it means to really protect your peace, especially as a woman in spaces that weren't built with you in mind. We unpack the complexity of purpose, confidence, and vulnerability, and how powerful it is to give yourself permission to rest without retreating. It's conversations like this one that inspire my upcoming book, Winning in Your Resting Season, a love letter to the woman who's been doing the most, but needs to remember that rest is not a weakness. It's a strategy. It's sacred, and it's where the real winning begins. So if you're in a moment of transition, if you're redefining who you are and what you deserve, this episode is for you. Let's get into it. Hello, and welcome to this super exciting episode of the Zaneta Show. I have brought on Consuela Williams. Now, how do we get here, right? So you and I, this is so funny.
Destiny. God did it.
I really appreciate Instagram for being the real social media, right? Like back when you used to use social media to meet people.
Yeah.
And you and I have been connected on Instagram since 2021.
Yes.
And when I asked my friends who wanted to be a part of the show, you responded. And I thought that that would be a great opportunity for us to talk offline and get to know a little bit more about each other. Because what really resonates with me about you is your content is so free spirited, it's beautiful, and it resonated with me. So I thought that this would be someone that I wouldn't mind seeing on my timeline. So thank you so much for being who you are and being open to coming on to my show.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here. This is like the second podcast I've done since COVID. So it's
Okay.
been a while. Well, no, I lie. I've done a few in the last few months here in Houston, but I'm excited. I haven't had like nice conversations with grown folks in a minute. Publicly
And
anyway. My
right.
friends
And
will be
that's
like, "What you mean? We don't have good conversations?" But no, in a public forum.
and that's what I really wanted my show to be about. You know, my target demographic are women who are in the same life path as me. I am not quite 40, but almost 40 and fabulous. And my friends are 40. Is 40 fabulous or no?
40 is a beautiful place to be. And I'm past 40, but you know, I think that stage in my life was very transitional,
Okay.
just like this stage is right now. Like I feel like every few years you are becoming, at least in my opinion, you should be becoming someone new or
Mm.
adding to the foundation that you've already created for yourself. And it's an exciting place, especially for a woman. I think a professional woman, or every woman, whether you're a mother or not, whether you are in corporate America or CEO, or have your own business, or just a homemaker or caretaker. There are certain different roles that we play at different phases of our lives. So yeah.
Absolutely. What advice would you give to your 37-year-old self? And that's not a random number. That's my number.
37 was very sweet, but also tough at the same time. For me, I would, if I were to talk to myself at that time, I would tell myself to just breathe,
Mm.
just take a deep breath, like everything is working out, and everything was amazing on all fronts. On paper, I looked good. On, in public, in front of others, I looked good. I did not necessarily feel my best all the time
Mm.
because I didn't have the time to check in with myself. I didn't make the time to check in with myself. And I think that would be the biggest thing, to like take more time for me instead of giving it all away all the time.
Mhm.
I would pull back a little bit, a lot
That
bit.
is.
Not a little bit, a lot bit, because I overgave
Mm.
constantly during that time of my life, up to that point.
Is it for your experience, and even as I think about my experience, how can women learn to rein that in better before reaching a breaking point where you're forced to do so? I feel like when we're thinking about our energy budget and how we're sharing, it usually is either a life factor or a pivot point where you decide, okay, you know what? I have to call this energy back in. And that is such
Yeah,
a powerful moment. But how can
yeah.
you be a better steward of your energy before you get to that? Or is it just how it works?
Well, for me, that's just how it worked. I got. I'm sorry. I don't know. Let's turn that off. I got to a place where I was burnt out, and but I was also groomed a certain way. Growing up in a certain household, my parents were pastors growing
Mm-hmm.
up, so I grew up constantly in a household of overgiving, basically. Like, my parents weren't the type that knew boundaries. They did not have personal boundaries for outside people. Like, our house was a constant revolving door of people that were in need. What they gave more than they had. um
Mm-hmm.
so, and I watched my parents give to us, their children. They gave to the community, they gave to church, they gave to their outside family members in ways that they didn't have. They spent much more than they, you know, brought in. And
Mm-hmm.
when I say that much, not necessarily financially, but that too, but mostly energetically, spiritually, they were just bankrupt after a certain time. And I watched that, even though I watched it and I was like, I don't want to move that way. I don't want to live that way in my own life. You don't necessarily become what you want all the time if you don't actively know the proper tools to get to who you want to be. You become what you see. And I saw giving, but which is a beautiful thing. And that's who I am. It's what I am. I enjoy being this way. But I've also learned, how to say no, pull it back, and give to myself the same way I give to others. And my mama still to this day believes that that's not the right way to go. She was like, "That's not, girl. That's not what God tells us to do. You gotta. The people need you. Like, you got." I'm like, no, they might, but they need themselves the same way I
Mm-hmm.
need to, check in with God, with myself first. Even though
Yes.
I have to tell all the time, Mama, what they tell you on the plane, put your own mask on first before you
Mm-hmm.
can help anybody else in your aisle, or in your section. Like, you cannot continue to give that way. And she can't tell her that.
And that's okay because we've learned the lessons, right? And
Yeah.
so, one of the things that I enjoy are pageants, and I Miss Georgia Global Continental 2025. Thank you. And my
Congratulations.
platform, thank you. My platform is Sisterhood, Success, and Self Care.
Yes.
And when you choose a platform that is central to your values, your morals. So, sisterhood, success, and self care is my point of advocacy when it comes to speaking with women, connecting with women, and where I put my philanthropic efforts. And so, something that stood out to me in what you were just saying comes into this evolution of prioritizing self care
Mm-hmm.
and self care beyond just, I'm going to the nail shop. Like, that's cool and that's
Yes.
grooming. But self care is really, again, taking that energy that you have expended and pouring it back in. I think of every day as an account. If I start my day with $1 million and I
Yeah.
end my day with $20. That's not gonna work. That's not gonna work because there's
You
no
bleeding
ROI here.
somewhere.
Exactly. And so for you, if you think of your day or your self-care practice as $1 million budget, what are some of the things that bring deposits back into your life?
For me, at the time, it was a long like journey, a process to get to a balance of every day, like a process of how I moved in my throughout my day.
Mm-hmm.
But mostly it's for me, it's a prayer. It's always been, wake up, God first, and check in with my body now. Like before, I would just get up, pray, but I would just go. I was moving constantly, quickly. Like I got up, and I had an early day for such a long time in my life. Like even when I was late, it was still too early for me. Like I'll be, because I worked in radio for about 20 years, and I had early. I started overnights, when I first started in the game, but it moved to mornings and early mornings and just mornings. But even when I worked morning radio like 9 to 2, which was midday, I still started early because I had to prepare for my day. I still had um other shows to do that were in other time zones, so I had to
Mm-hmm.
start extra early. And now it's since I've been on a hiatus from life, or from the rat race of life, I literally have taken the time to like, check in with myself. What do you want? How do you want to move each day? I still start my day with prayer and meditation, and I'm a yogi of sorts. I do yoga in the mornings, but mostly stretching. I work
Mm-hmm.
out mostly 3 to 4 times a week still, which is something I've always done in my life, but I've taken really long breaks from physical
Mm-hmm.
activity because I would be so busy giving, to work, and I wouldn't make the time. I felt like I didn't have the time, and
Yep.
I couldn't say no to, work if I was, asked to do certain things. I would literally be in the studio for 14 hours a day. Like that's insane. When, especially if you don't own it, it's not
Yep.
yours.
Yep.
14 to 17 hours of your physical essence, your voice being, used in ways that you don't even know, because it's not your words half the time. It's something that somebody else wants you to say about this. And
Yep.
it's just a constant, can you host this? Or can you come to this school and talk to this person? So you're a constant output with no
Yep.
input. And
Yes.
now it's more, I have such an overflow of input. Now I
Mm-hmm.
can give in ways that I never knew, because I took the time to, kind of scale back, I pull back, but I also took the time to figure out where I've been, what I've accomplished, and it's been beautiful. But if you keep doing this, you don't
Yep.
even pay attention to the roses that you've, left behind, or that you've passed throughout your journey. Like you really have to go back and pay attention to those snapshots of
Mm-hmm.
all the beauty that you've, um, come across. And 37, which is where you are, right? That's
Yes.
a beautiful time to take a good snapshot of where you are and where you've been, and to constantly check in with yourself daily, check in with God daily throughout the day. But tell people no. That's the main thing.
No is a full sentence.
No.
And you are so correct with just the timing of things as it relates to me. I can resonate with that because as of recently, I made an exit from corporate. And so it's
Good for you.
been a full year. Thank you. It's been a full year since I've been in that environment, and I have had nothing but time, but to sit and
Yes.
think, and it was very challenging to redefine and take away all of the external titles and things that I've done. And I am not the things that I've done. I
Yes.
am who I am, but who is she and what does she want now? Now that you have the opportunity to paint this canvas with the colors of your own palette, what will this look like? And that's this season for me right now. And it's
Yeah.
been so refreshing because it doesn't have anything to do anymore with what people want from me, what people are expecting of me. It's what I expect from myself based off what I'm hearing from my higher power, and our connection is between me and somebody else now.
Yes.
And now things just flow more freely. I'm not tired. I am
Yeah.
enthusiastic and hopeful because I know that I will be okay, right? Like you said, everything's gonna be fine.
Yes. Just
I used to work
breathe.
in entertainment as well. I started my career at the Source magazine as a digital content manager. I've been at events. I've been in that entire space. So woman to woman, there's always this especially when you want to ascend in that space. There is a lot of giving required. There's a lot of self protection you have to wear, a lot of armor because it's a male dominated field. People
Yeah.
might try you. People want to see how serious you are, you know. So all of
Yeah.
that after a while, you're like, all
They
right,
try you and they test you in ways that are not honorable.
not at all.
They test you in ways to dishonor who you are, what you are. They want to know if you have any morals or if you're willing to do,
Yep.
something that they want you to do that doesn't necessarily match up with who you are at the core. But um yeah, the industry has been beautiful to me in ways,
Mm-hmm.
and then at the same time it is what it is. Like, you have to learn who you are and move um accordingly throughout any genre, any environment. You have to remain true to yourself, and that's
Mm-hmm.
really all this is about. Like, it's a test for all of us at the end of the day,
Yep.
not just women that are um subordinate in a lot of situations, or less dominant in our roles in this industry, but not less important, obviously, but just in how we've been presented or allowed to be presented in this industry. I think um, the majority of humans that work in this industry are tested in ways that
Mm-hmm.
they don't necessarily realize until later, if
Yep.
they ever do, that
Yep.
they either passed or
Yep.
they need a little work in certain areas. And it's a test of human nature,
Mm.
and your will of whether or not you're going to stick to your purpose or not. So
Yes, yes. And when faced with those chapters and those mirrors, right? Because these moments help you see yourself. You can decide if you agree with what you see or do you want something different.
yeah,
And what I really enjoy about adulthood right now is remembering that you can create whatever you want. And
whatever.
so I enjoy checking in with different parts of myself. And I think my life happens in these 10 to 12-year rotations. So I have a 17-year-old self, a 27-year-old self, and a 37-year-old self. And when I
Yeah.
look back on my life, those 7 years are just really those moments for me. So I'm rolling with that
Same.
trend.
Yeah.
But my 17-year-old self, you couldn't tell her that she couldn't do anything. She did what she wanted to do. She had a vision. And so her and I have been having a few more meetings. The 27-year-old self is very focused, but plays it safe. So I check in with her at other
Yeah.
times, right?
Yeah.
But now I'm reconnecting and integrating all of those different moments into a conversation that I will be with my 47-year-old self, and just preparing in all of the ways and all of the different ways that I've blossomed over the years to
Yeah.
redefine what this next decade looks like. And so there's all this conversation. I remember when I first turned 30, it was just panic.
I was panicked
30,
too.
it was panic. It was so much uncertainty around, well, I'm not married. So what is my 30s? What is it going to look like? I don't own a home. What is that going to look like? I'm a single mom. What is that going to look like? It was a
Yeah.
bunch of panic and stress. And honestly, I lost my dad that same year. So it
Oh,
was a lot of just, okay, we here again, figuring it out. So
yeah.
then you learn that everything's going to be fine. So now I
I
can
mean,
redesign.
it's like a constant, I won't even say roller coaster because at times it can be a roller coaster if you don't have control over yourself. But
Hmm.
after a while, even the roller coaster or the chaos happening around you is easier to behold or consume or to witness and experience if you are, you know, checked in and fully grounded within yourself.
That
And I think,
accountability is key.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And those different stages of our lives, I think, you said 27-year old self, I was just getting into a serious relationship around that time, and I wasn't playing it safe per se, but I was just getting my groove in my career, and I was wanting to break a threshold that, people or things around me were seemingly like holding me back.
Mhm.
And I was like, no, I can do this. I don't know. I'm not really paying attention to these people around me or whatever these quote unquote blocks are, they don't exist. And that's the mindset I had. And that's where I am again, but it's from ground zero again, from a
Yep.
different, and you're never at ground zero if you've already done or been through these different cycles of life. But sometimes it can feel that way.
Mm.
And, but yeah, and 30, it was another transition. So it was like, for me, it was not just the 7 year, it was kind of like every 3 to 4 years,
Mm.
it's been something new,
What they say is always
to
something,
say the
right?
least. Like I was calling a wedding off at 30, and uh yeah, it was a lot. Big transition in life.
So,
So
what
I'm
are
at that place
relationships
again.
like at this age, at this chapter at this resurgence of womanhood for you, for us, being 35 and up? There's internet talk when that's not real talk, right? But they say things about women in their 30s become less desirable and all of these notions. And do you
Are
do
they? Or is that
listen to
just
that?
people that, you
I
know,
think they're trolling, honey, because I feel great.
I
I think
mean,
they are trolling.
I don't even think that that's a thing. I think that that's a cop out for
Yep.
people that lack maturity
Hmm.
and don't really know who they are. Like, because anytime you pointing fingers or saying that anything derogatory or negative about anybody, then you need to check in with yourself. Because
Hmm.
and I don't listen to people. That's been my gift and my curse in life. Like I'm like, what are you talking about? Because that's not how I feel. Like that's not what. And I think that each one of us, and not everybody has this strong will or understanding of who they are, and confidence of who they are on the inside. And granted, it's not something that stays with you 24/7 because obviously we're all human and we have these bouts of uncertainty and being unsure of ourselves and not so confident or whatever. But in the depths of my soul, I have always known what's not right for me for sure. And whether I go against that feeling or not, because I've not listened at times when I knew this, but you can't really listen to what other people say.
Hmm.
And when it has to do with your livelihood or your essence or our life force, which is where love comes from. That's where, romance and it's a mirror of yourself. That's all
Hmm.
relationships are. It's a conversation with another human, but you're really just reflecting yourself in that person. So
Yes.
do I believe that I'm not worthy? No. Do I believe that I'm not attractive? Then that would mean that I can't see attraction in anyone anymore. And after
Yes.
what, just because you're still on the earth, you might as
Yep.
well go and give it up. Give the ghost up right now. Like, if that's how you feel, they got
Mhm.
84-year-old people getting married today.
Yes.
So, why would you listen to anybody? Stop it.
As a
But
Libra, sometimes I don't listen to people. What's your sign?
Cancer.
I'm
And
Cancer
usually gets,
rising.
huh?
Cancer's my rising sign, so I
Oh,
love fellow
really?
Cancers. Yes,
That's a good
yes.
thing.
And one thing that they always say is that cancers are healers and
Yes.
nurturers. And, you know, I can see that play out in my relationships. Some people are not into astrology, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But there are some really serious parallels with me being a Cancer. And that's probably why I was attracted to your content, because it just resonates in a way that I can't describe. Sometimes you see the energy and you just want to be connected to that. So I
Yeah.
love that we share that together.
I am a Cancer sun, Scorpio rising, and Sagittarius moon. So my Sag, that fire, is what probably causes me not to listen to many people. And really be okay with transition and change, even though it's tough a lot of times. I would rather flip the table over, knock everything down, and start over from the ground up if it's not serving me or not matching what I know God put in my heart to do. And
Mm-hmm.
if I made a wrong turn, I'll just turn the hell around and pivot. Like, it's okay. I leave stuff behind. People are like, this last time when I left LA, I sold everything and gave a lot away. I left stuff in my apartment for them to deal with. I just start over and let's just start from scratch. Because this little rat race, I've done the healing that I needed to do here. LA was amazing during the season that I was there, and I know I'll probably be back soon, but in a different way. I needed to just pivot and regroup, kind of like assess
Yep.
where I've been and how well I have done my healing work, which
Mm-hmm.
is what I was doing, studying astrology, studying numerology, studying myself, really understanding who I am and where I've been, and um just growing muscles, not just
Yep.
physical muscles, but spiritual muscles, and
Yes.
tapping into my intuition and knowing like so the type of strength that I have right now is unmatched. And I would not have been able to do that if I was giving my all to a relationship, or giving my all to a baby, or giving my all to a corporate gig. And when you know yourself, you have to do what you have to do to grow. When you're in school, you're not working a full-time job all the time. Something has to give. You either cut
Yep.
the hours in school, or you cut your
Yep.
hours in work.
Yep.
You cannot do both
Yep.
fully on full throttle. And during this time, I knew that I needed to sit and study and be quiet, and that's
Yeah.
where I've been. And I'm so grateful for this time, because I wouldn't have
Yes.
been able to do it before. I
Yep.
may have been broke as hell, but I'm really not, because I've
Yeah.
had clean, healthy
Yep.
environments, and of growth to be in. And that's how I when you check in and look around you, and and you're grateful for all the little things, you're in the right place at all times. And yeah.
I love that. I'm kind of like the pivot queen in the same way. I will knock all this shit over. I do not care. Um, I don't like it. Get it out of here.
It's not right.
I'm Cancer rising, Libra sun, Libra moon, and Libra Mercury. So,
Oh, you got Libra stellium, so you require balance. So if it's unbalanced, yeah, you I can see it.
but my
Yeah.
Mars is in Virgo. So I appreciate that placement so much, because that gives the structure for me to create
Yeah.
so much, because there is a way that I want it, and it has to be that way, and that's the Virgo Mars.
Yeah.
And I will go for nothing to see that it's that way, because the Libra in me loves it just wants to be and exist and flow, but it has to look how I want it to look.
that's
It has to
that's
look that
me.
way.
No, it's fine. I don't even have. I have some Libra in my chart, but the I don't think I have much Earth. So for me, I have to be around people that help me stay grounded, and I have to be outside a lot. West, so hiking in the beach was very
Yep.
necessary for me being in LA.
Yeah, grounding. You're a water sign, so you flow, you're intuitive, right? And you mentioned that as a part of just transitioning and pivoting. Because
Yeah.
in that pivot point, when you are between seasons or, changing seasons, that silent moment, creating that silent moment and just being okay with that is so important. Last year when I left corporate, I can't tell you how many movies I watch, and that's significant because I don't. When do I have time to sit on my couch
Yeah.
and watch movies? I just have never had time, and I was watching Batman. I watched like Batman Return, like all those 2.5 hour
That's
long movies.
hilarious.
That's what I was doing all summer, and so, but I did spend a lot of time outside, just in the room doing nothing because I wanted to make space to hear what I needed to hear on, okay, what are we doing next?
Yeah.
There's free will, and then there's divine design, and there's inspired action. So let me just take my seatbelt off and get in the passenger side because this is above me now.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna I'm just gonna do what I've been called to do and what I'm directed to do. And now as I operate, I don't have to work. I don't have to effort for the things that I want. The things that I want come to me. And I
Yeah.
said, okay, this
Yeah.
is what I like. I
You've
could have, if I was
mastered the
doing this a while ago, but it's
manifestation.
okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
So giving grace to yourselves for maybe not what you didn't know, but what you weren't ready to bear yet as fruit is
Yes.
also really important. And so it's been a lot of, self-soothing. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
We're here now.
Yeah.
Now that we know, let's give thanks and move forward in gratitude. Yep.
Yeah. That's basically what this season has been for me, like being gentle with myself, and or the past seasons have been like, right now I'm just ready for all the work that I've put in to manifest in the physical. Like, it's just waiting for things to catch up. And
Yep.
and not even waiting like anymore, because obviously it's time, because I'm here talking to you right now about it all, because I wasn't even in a space where I wanted to um be seen, or and I moved to LA for acting. I'm an actor. I've always had a public, a physically, verbally public occupation. So part of my purpose is public. It will
Mm-hmm.
be. It always has been, even as a preacher's kid. Like, I have grown and been groomed in the public of some
Mm-hmm.
sort. So my purpose is to be seen, but there are times, there's a season for everything. Like you were talking about your plants earlier, like your plant babies, when they're just small little plants, or when you plant a seed, a lot of the growth happens underground. Like, nobody's seeing all the growth that's happening in the dark. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where one day you'll come home, and then the whole thing will be sprouted up, and you're like, okay, this it was nothing yesterday,
Yep.
and
Yep.
today she's all full of blossoms, and you know
Aw.
you know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean. So it's there's seasons, it's a necessary progression and purpose for each season in our lives.
So, as you are emerging and blossoming in this season, what advice would you leave with our audience for any woman who is just entering this space? What would you want to leave with them as they're watching this episode and hearing our conversation?
I don't know, hold on, I'm about to tear up a little bit. Ask me that one more time.
Okay. As we are thinking, or excuse me, I'll edit this part. I'll edit and bring us in from the question.
Okay.
If you need a minute, we can take it.
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
I like crying. I'm a
Okay.
Cancer, it's okay.
I'm a Cancer too. I cry all the time, but I'll be
I
like, all
love
right,
to cry. It's
cut,
necessary
cut. I
too.
cry too much. I tried to make an episode for 404 Day, and then every time I was thinking about what I would say, I just kept crying. I'm like, girl, nobody wants to hear all that. But thank you for seeing me, because girl, my daughter, she'd be like, are you okay? No, I'm crying. That's sad. Or I'm
No, I
happy.
don't
Or
mind
I
it.
love
Like,
it.
It's better to get it out because people need to be vulnerable most of the time. That's what's wrong with this world right now. People are just putting on a mask and a face and pretending that everything's okay. Damn it, no, it ain't. Today it ain't. And it's okay. We need those moments too. It's necessary. Cry a little
I just
bit.
learned
Make you
about
feel
my
better.
feelings. The
Uh,
30s taught me that I have feelings I really didn't know. I just wasn't operating in that space. I legit didn't.
Who told you you had feelings?
My therapist.
It took your therapist to tell you.
Yes. She's
Oh,
like,
that's serious.
why are you intellectualizing your feelings? And I'm like, I don't know what that means, but she's like, exactly. Okay.
Exactly. Exactly.
Sorry, I don't
Let
know.
it out, honey.
But the question is, what is one thing that you would leave on the show for our listeners who are just entering this season of pivot and change and are having a difficult time with this transition?
I think there's so many things happening in our world right now that it's going to be necessary for everyone, no matter where you are in your life. I think it's going to be pertinent to check in with who you really are and ask yourself what you really want and who do you really want to become, or grow into, what things you want to learn, because our world is changing like leaps and bounds in before our very eyes, like in a short amount of time. So I think if there's anything we can do right now is to really find our personal power. And that's something that I think a lot of people don't know how to do, especially if they aren't gathering the tools. Like with therapy, you say you're going to therapy, they are so used to putting on intellectualizing things or paying attention to outside noise, to whether it's the news or what their corporation has to say. They want to put on a face for public, and look a certain way and have certain things for everybody else to see, but
Mm-hmm.
they're not whole on the inside. So I think what most people should, I can't even say should, um no, what I would leave based on my own experience is to just kind of tune everything out for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Take some time to check in with yourself and ask yourself what and who you really want and who you really are.
I believe in that too. I believe in that. I also believe that sisterhood is an important part of that support system, that process of being able to have somewhere where you can just be. There's no
Hmm.
judgment. Maybe it's someone who checks on you. Sometimes I'll send a wellness check text. Don't really want nothing, just letting you know you're on my mind. I don't say all that, but when you get the wellness check text from me, you can either you give me a thumbs up, we can do a voice note, you can call me, but just
Yeah,
to know, right? Because sometimes we get so absorbed into, oh my God, my life right now is so much happening. What am I gonna do? But
yeah.
also extending that to someone else. I remember I reached out to a friend I hadn't heard from in a while, and now I'm hitting her up repeatedly, like, girl, are you okay? And she
Hmm.
said, and some people you know who to do that with, right? So
Yeah,
this person, I knew I needed to double back. Like, are you okay? And she
yeah,
said, no, I have a lot going on, and I know that you do too, and I didn't want to give you that.
yeah,
Then I said, I understand. I appreciate you. Thank you. But I always have room for you. You're my
yeah,
sister. Right.
yeah,
So sometimes being able to share in that lets us know that we have someone, and it makes the world not so scary. It makes it more safe. So I will
yeah.
want to leave my
Absolutely.
audience with that. Check on your people, check on your strong friend as well. Because
That's
sometimes
me, and that
we
I
need
have a
that.
lot of strong friends. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful for the ones that have checked in on me during this season, and just to be there, not even to um say anything or do anything, just be.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm just going to come sit on your couch, girl. I'll be over here.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes they just need um it's tough for the strong friends to ask for help. So um sometimes that help is it's easier to uh soften that ground when you are just open and available to them. So
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
necessary.
Awesome. Well, this has been beautiful. Thank you so much for
Yay!
joining.
I'm so happy that I had this conversation. Yes, I was about to start singing. I won't do it.
Before I go, you were a former Jet Beauty of the Week,
Oh my
and
God, you found that.
I did. And I love that because honestly, the Jet Beauty of the Weeks were my favorite part of the magazine.
Mine
And
too.
it was the first thing I would look at. And I loved how intelligent all the girls always were. Like it was never just a bad body in a bikini. They
Yeah,
were students and doing things. And I just really miss that about just youth sometimes and what we aspire to. So thank you for being a
yeah.
part of that because it was a really big
Yay.
thing for me to see Black women in that way. It was really, really positive. So
Thank
you're
you.
you're
I'm
her.
grateful that I was a part of that history. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. I'm glad
Okay,
you saw it.
I just wanted to make sure you had your flowers for that and all the things that you do and
Thank
everything
you.
that you are. So thank you so much for joining, and we'll have to have this conversation again soon.
Yes, let's do it.